Welcome to Inside Exchange, Topics for Manufacturers, a series bringing you expert-led presentations on the issues that matter most to members. The curated topics in this series feature presentations from associate members and subject matter experts through on-demand and live webinars to help Hudson Valley manufacturers. If you have topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, contact us at info@councilofindustry.org. Let's begin.
Marc Hoover, Business Development with Trout Software. Welcome to Inside Exchange with the Council of Industry.
Thank you, Harold. It's great to be here.
Appreciate your sharing your insights on CMMC for legacy equipment. I know that this is an issue that many of our manufacturing members are dealing with and trying to wrap their arms around. So we appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts with us. I guess if you want to go right ahead and share your screen, we'll get started.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, everybody listening, watching. As Harold said, I'm Marc Hoover at Business Development at Trout Software, and we are a cybersecurity company working in critical infrastructure, which of course includes manufacturing. And we've been members with the Council of Industry for some time now, and developed a great relationship. Love the work that they do out there in the space, especially when it comes to CMMC. That's become a problem in recent years here for a lot of the manufacturers, not just in our region, but across the country. They're trying to do business with defense industrial base. So we're one of the things we really want to touch on here is CMMC for legacy equipment. Because when we're talking with manufacturers, there's a lot of CMMC lessons out there, webinars, schooling, that kind of thing. CMMC, for those unfamiliar, the Cybersecurity Maturity Module certification. And that is, to make sure that you have the appropriate cybersecurity in place to do business with the Department of Defense. One of the major things that comes up is dealing with legacy equipment and how to secure that equipment, those machines appropriately in an environment where information technology and operational technology meet, and old technology doesn't necessarily want to play nicely with new technology. And we want to do that without having any downtime and try to reduce those costs as much as possible. So this talks about it's really for anybody in this space. If you're listening to this, it's probably for you. So the manufacturers, the depots, anybody that's handling controlled unclassified information, whether you're a prime selling to the government or your subcontractor, chances are there's legacy equipment that you're trying to secure as you meet CMMC requirements. And it's particularly to small and mid-sized manufacturers out there can be quite challenging, as they're, don't want to replace legacy equipment. And we don't want that either. We want to have you keep that workhorse that's been going for you for years, and keep it online and have it keep working for you without having any production downtime. And we like to say this: if the equipment you have is older than your newest intern, it's just for you. It's a pretty common thing to see, that there's a lot of old stuff out there that we want to keep around. So we're talking specialized assets, and this is really the reason we're here. So this is really why we're having this conversation, because CMMC expects tight access control, monitoring, boundary defense. And that's a challenge for a lot of these places with legacy systems. And when I say legacy systems, I am referring to specialized assets, which is what the CMMC 2.0 identifies these systems as. That's the terminology that they use, and as well as NIST. So these things are obviously a problem because they can't be moved. We mentioned replacing them. A lot of these assets, they can't run with any form of security agent installed on them. They can't enforce the multi-factor authentication that's required. And any maintenance on them can require some really intense downtime with it. And we're trying to avoid that. So I guess before I get too far, so I work with the business development, but I've also taken the lead at Trout with work with defense discussions. And prior to this, most of my career was in the military, where I spent a lot of time with special forces, where I was a communications specialist. Was one of my titles, and I say that because when I talk to these manufacturers, I can really relate to the struggles of having to set up a secure environment, government compliance standards in a less than ideal environment or situation or timeline, and having to meet these things and having to tie a lot of old equipment together. So I can definitely feel for these manufacturers that have small IT teams, and they're doing the best they can with what they have. So I touched on a little bit of just so what we're going to get into a little bit deeper here. So the real CMMC challenge is really securing these specialized assets that I mentioned. I'm going to talk about why VLANs aren't enough, probably a term you've heard, the virtual local area network. We're going to talk about on-premise enclaves. Another term you may have heard, an enclave, a secure enclave. We'll do a demo of a way that we do this at Trout using a secure twin solution. And Harold, if you have any questions for me, then we'll go into that. Okay, so touched a little bit, but specialized assets, I do want to ground the conversation a little bit with what the actual standard is of a specialized asset, so we're all aligned. So under NIST 800-171 and CMMC 2.0, the formal category for legacy equipment and things like CNC machines, PLCs, all of these things fall under specialized assets, essentially where your machines are connected to your IT. And to quote CMMC 2.0, CMMC defines specialized assets as systems that are part of a CUI scope, but are not capable of meeting security requirements directly due to their operational nature, technical limitations, or impact on mission or production. So some of the key points there are, these are machines that are still in the CUI scope. So they can still be used to handle CUI, controlled and classified information, if that's what you've been doing. But they require they're still required to meet the same security standards. The problem lies in the fact that they don't often have the ability to install a security agent on them to make them meet the compliance. So what we do, and our solution is to secure them as they are by creating a secure enclave around them. And we'll dive into that a little bit deeper here. So again, these assets are in scope for CUI and CMMC for your CMMC assessment. So you still need to document them and describe how you protect them, and actually have security in place that is compliance standard. So there's 5 pillars that we've identified as how you secure these specialized assets. One is being that you have a heightened network visibility, where you're able to see all assets that are connected to the network. It may or may not be surprising that a lot of folks and manufacturers, they have networks set up where they're honestly not even entirely sure everything that's connected to that network. Networks may have been set up a long time ago. They may have done, they have secure their firewall. They manage maybe some VLANs and stuff, but as you add and remove machines, it's easy to let things slip. So keeping that network visibility up is super important. Access control is a major pillar as far as who is able to access what machine. That's both by user and by device, meaning what person on what computer can access what machine in one example. And then we need to have encryption that's compliant encryption across the board that's compliant with CMMC. And we need to have monitoring in place where we're able to see all these connections in real time and also be able to log them and be able to go back and look at any connection that's been happening, which is important for your incident response capabilities to be able to quickly narrow any type of situation that has occurred. And then with that logging comes the documentation. So you need to be able to confidently present documentation that shows all of these security control procedures that you have in place, and be able to articulate very well in your SSP, your site security plan, where you have all these controls in place and how you enforce them. Really quick way to establish this in an efficient way is to secure the boundary of your specialized assets instead of upgrading the machine entirely that I mentioned before. So you create the controls around it, these security controls around the boundary of that operational technology, the specialized asset, which is what we call an enclave. So you have enclaves that are your physical space, because a building where you have controlled and classified information that doesn't leave that place is a physical enclave. It might be a physical section of that building that is doing the CMMC related work. That's an enclave. You might have a specific part of your network where certain machines and the computers are connected that are doing the CMMC work and holding controlled unclassified information. That's an enclave. And what we're introducing really around the specialized asset is a micro enclave. But the technical term for that would be micro segmentation. So VLANs, virtual local area networks. These are a common means of setting up a network that may be in place in a lot of manufacturing environments right now. They're a great start. They do offer some segmentation of your network, and you can group and organize your network in certain ways. You can have your admin group and your IT group. But it provides some of the documentation, but it's not providing the enforcement that you need. And by enforcement, I mean by identity, that's by person, by device, that's authenticated, encrypted, and leaving the audit trails and logging that go with that. What I'm talking about here is the concept of a zero trust environment. So a zero trust environment is what we're going for. And in a zero trust environment, every connection is deemed untrustworthy until it's been authenticated. So VLANs will isolate the network, but they don't necessarily enforce the identity, logging, or the zero trust. So they're somewhat of a bandage and a nice organization tool, but not a CMMC compliant solution. And regardless of CMMC, you just need to make the point that these are just good cybersecurity practices to have in place. This is CMMC came along to enforce good cybersecurity standards that, so regardless of whether or not CMMC is a priority for you of doing business with in the defense industrial base, these are just good practices to have for any environment, any IT, OT environment. So this is just another way of looking at it. So with the VLAN, low visibility, access control, there's some of it. The encryption, it's not organically applying any encryption within the VLAN itself necessarily. And the monitoring, it offers some, but not exactly what you want. And the documentation is still kind of left up to that end user for these simple VLAN setups that we often see. There's another means of doing this, which is via 802.1x, which is a way to create authentication before you access the VLAN. It's a very painful integration process that if you talk to anybody that has done it, they'll probably tell you that they never want to do it again. And it took quite some time, effort, energy, and resources to get that established. So we want to take that pain away from the IT team, simplify the process a bit, and make it more applicable for those that maybe don't have as robust of an IT department to deploy. So, our solution that we propose at Trout is with a securing with a proxy. This is essentially what we do is we deploy an on-premise appliance here. It's a plug-and-play appliance that looks essentially like a network switch that's deployed behind an existing firewall at the network. So what you see here is all software-defined networking. So it's establishing the network visibility by identifying all of these devices by IP address. And you're manipulating by a virtual copy of that physical infrastructure each connection. And rather than deploying installing a security agent at each individual specialized asset here, where you see these dots, these orange dots, we route every connection through the on-premise appliance, which serves as a proxy to secure these specialized assets that cannot take that security agent installed on them directly. And within this virtual overlay of the network, we use a couple different terms of that: virtual overlay, secure twin, digital twin. They're all terms you may hear, but essentially, we're manipulating the connections without actually rewiring it. So we're creating these enclaves so you can have separation between different lines of production. You can have them controlled by who has access to what machine, by user and by device, and by a certain amount of privilege. So what we're establishing is that we're having zero trust at the machine, not at the cloud. So it's at the machine because all connections are still routed through the on-premise appliance, but we're not moving everything to the cloud. It's still using the physical infrastructure that's in place. And I'll show you how that works here in a second. Okay, so what we have here is the user interface for our Trout access gate, which is that secure twin that I was talking about, where it's identifying in this monitor screen, we can see every connection that's on that network. So it's seeing it all by IP address and adding a name to each one of those devices that are connected. So that's your first step, be able to identify everything that's on the network. So now if I want to go in and I say, I want to look at the assets specifically, I can see this entire net list here. And if I want to create an asset, I just create an asset name by IP address. You can also see your users, every user that's authorized to be on this network. Now, where it gets very helpful here is when we want to start creating those enclaves themselves. So if I want to create an enclave, we'll call it
We definitely need something. Oh, I'm like scared every minute of all the phishing.
Well, there you go. So that's what we're going to make, the Council of Industry CUI enclave, and we'll give it a security level. We're going to call it critical, Harold. How about that? And we can also have the ability to share it with a different site that also had a box deployed on.
Okay.
And so we're going to create that enclave. I'm going to go down to the enclave I just created. I edit the principals and I say I want to add a couple different folks to this. I'm going to add myself, Bob and Alex, to have access to the code repository. We can pick a couple different protocols that we can have that added for. So what we see here is now we have a matrix setup that is much very user-friendly means of creating your access control and security levels for each connection that we were talking about. So in that depiction where you saw the enclaves grouped together and they were all routed through the access gate, That's what we're seeing here. So for, let's say, Alice, we want to give Alice permission to access this enclave. It's just a click of a button, and I hit save. Now Alice is allowed. If I want to give Bob obviously has an advanced level. So if I can add a TLS required encryption, if I don't want that, I can just get rid of it. But if I want to have a higher level of access control for Bob that requires TLS encryption, or if Bob needs to be able to access via remotely to this machine, VPN can be allowed. And it's just that simple to be able to. And then if I want to add more people, we'll give Florian a shot. There he is. Now I can allow Florian or deny him.
So I have, let's say for the sake of discussion, I have, 5 or 6 machines in my machine shop that are these legacy machines. I would set the entire shop up as a separate entity, or as a block it off, or would it be each machine?
I mean, you can do whatever you would need. So that's one of the advantages of this, is that you can make this scalable. So
Okay.
Just those machines that was doing your CUI work, you could create an enclave for just those machines. And
Enclave was the word. So it wouldn't have to necessarily be each individual machine. It would be, that department, or so to speak.
Correct. But also within that enclave, you have a micro enclave.
Okay.
Around the individual machine itself.
Okay.
So you have the group, your enclave of grouped machines that you've identified is the enclave, but then there's also an enclave surrounding each individual machine itself.
Okay, good. Clear.
The advantage there is that what makes it even more secure is, in the event, a lot of times these ransomware attacks and cyber attacks on manufacturers happen via direct access to a OT device, whether it's an HVAC system or a camera system or something that somebody physically had access to. Regardless, if one machine somehow became compromised, that hacker could not move laterally across the network, meaning they could not go beyond that machine that they managed to get a hold of, because it was secured in its own individual enclave.
Yeah, that seems extremely important. Just what I've been reading and hearing of how vulnerabilities are being exploited.
Absolutely. And another means of mitigating that, so we include access screens. So if I want to edit this. So if somebody was about to access that server that we just made, where I put in there that there's an access screen that pops up to access the Council of Industry CUI enclave, they would see this. They would see you're about to, and you can change this as you see fit per your policy, to say, hey, in some one way or another, they would get flashed up in front of them that says, hey, you're about to access controlled and classified information. Hit acknowledge, and then that's logged. So you're also logging the activity of who's going in and out, and that each person has acknowledged, yes, I see that I'm accessing sensitive materials and I need to act accordingly. And there's also a means of making that by a timeout period, so that they can only get in during their work hours, or if it was somebody that was coming to do maintenance, they could come and you could grant them 4 hours worth of access or whatever they need, and then it goes away. And that's the other element that goes into manipulating these enclaves, that just to bring it back to a business perspective of where if Alice gets fired or just changes from a different department, a lot of problems arise when accounts are just left unused and they're left open. And then all you just got to do is block, or even better yet, go in and just completely remove her from the enclave entirely, so she's not even there. And it can be done that quickly. And businesses are constantly getting new folks, new people, they're expanding. And that's, allows the ability to quickly add people if you're in a hiring spree, or to take somebody off if they've changed departments or left the company. So, do you have any other thoughts on that before I get back to the
No, just it seems like exactly what people need to isolate and protect their devices. Makes sense.
We found that, and we found that not only do they need it, they need something that can be deployed on premise, where they don't want it might not their environment might not be ideal to move everything to the cloud. That can be an expensive endeavor, but they have these legacy machines that they still want to secure and continue to use, and they want to be able to do it without having any downtime. They don't want to have any recabling of their entire network infrastructure. They just want to be able to have something that can quickly say, yes, this is secure to standard, by connection, by device, by user. So just to look at this again, that's just a picture of imagine this said the Council of Industry CUI enclave right here.
Okay.
And that would be all routed through here, and we could add this person to it, remove them, add this machine if we wanted to, if it were moved over that way, if the scalability had. So just back to the scorecard, by doing this via secure twin, you have a higher level of visibility. You can enforce that access control that I was just demonstrating. There's encryption embedded. You can add different levels of encryption, and different encryption algorithms, depending on what's required from you. And there's continuous monitoring happening, and you're able to quickly download this information into his DM or any other form of database that you have that you need to present during an assessment, or to reference in after some type of incident.
I don't want to, probably maybe get ahead, but how long does it take to install? Is it, is it obviously it depends on how many enclaves and so forth, but
it typically can be done with a day or two on site, working with the IT team or their MSP if they're using one. A lot of times, what takes the most time is just getting an understanding of how their network's set up. But the actual installation of the box is 2 Ethernet cables that plug into their existing network stack, and then just some configurations to ensure that we can see everything on the network.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so this is just another depiction of what, just from a network topology standpoint, of what that could look like, of what I was doing there. Where you have your IT setup network, but then you also have some machines in different sites not sites, correction, different lines on your business doing different types of work, where they can all be going through the access gate. And just because they're in different departments doesn't mean that there's not certain people within each of those departments that needs access to that enclave. So you can have an overlapping enclave of CUI access that spans these different enclaves over top the VLANs that are already in place. We don't need to change the VLANs that you have set up if you already like them. We'll just create that layer on top of it. And a way I like to describe this, just to conceptualize a little easier of how a secure twin works. I've talked about how we're not changing the physical network infrastructure. I like to compare it to if you had a physical roadmap of the streets around your house, and you took a clear piece of plastic over it, and you decided, no, I don't want to go that way because I don't like going through that house or that neighborhood. I don't want to talk to that neighbor, but I do want to be able to go to this same store. I'm just going to redraw my route to a different place. You're not changing the actual roads of what's around you. You're just changing the direction that you go. And so the whole goal here is to take a network, an OTIT network, from wherever they are. So we see small manufacturers with networks that are essentially the equivalent of the Wi-Fi I have in my house, which is not necessarily anything wrong with that, depending on what they're doing. But they still need to establish a secure environment within that. All the way up to folks that have a very dynamic enterprise environment. And with the deployment of this proxy and software defined networking, you can take their network from wherever they are and leapfrog them into that zero trust environment I was talking about before. And it's without changing everything they have, without having to add a ton more equipment or cabling or anything. It's just going to take you from where you are and into a zero trust environment that you can manipulate and adjust as you need. Again, just to bring it back, specialized assets, they're tough to protect. They're big, they're huge. It's not a computer that you can take back to the IT guy. They're aging, but they're still working, and they don't take those new security updates either at all or to the standard that's needed. And trying to find the right security agent that matches all of your different specialized assets can be a nightmare. So the goal is to just secure it as it is without actually installing an agent on it, securing it via proxy through, we do it through our access gate. So Harold, just would love to open it up for any discussion, thoughts you have. We've been working together a while and talked about some of these difficulties.
Yeah, no, actually, this was really helpful for me. I to visually see exactly what you're doing. I mean, I've seen you or heard from you and Florian through the last couple of years about what this all is, but it's nice to see it presented this way, and it makes it very clear. My mind races with all the companies out there. Every tour we go on, they love to show us the fancy new machine, but they also will point out that, yeah, we've had this machine for 30 years. It's a great workhorse. We still do this, or, even more importantly, they've added, some layer of automation or some, layer of programming to it. And I can see now that what a nightmare that is, in this CMMC credentialing and just to secure it. This and your solution seems really practical.
Yeah, I'm glad that translates and resonates well, because that's exactly what we see too when we go meet with these folks. That same tour.
Yeah. Do you think when you do meet with folks, do you find that they are kind of almost paralyzed by this problem? I mean, by how to deal with it, or because the solution isn't really apparent.
Yeah, so they're definitely paralyzed by some of the quotes they get for a lot of those quotes that they receive are either one telling them, "Hey, move everything to the cloud," which might not be ideal for them. They've already got everything set up on premise. It's been that way. It's working great, and then. Or they're being given a complete blanketed infrastructuring of their entire network that's upwards of $100,000, or more, and what our goal is to take what you actually need. So what is actually doing your CMMC related work, and how many users are you using actually that need access? How many IT devices and OT devices are actually doing that work to create that secure enclave? So you have a scalable solution to what you actually need, rather than just everybody needs to meet specific standards. We're not saying lower your security standards at all, across the board, but
and is that the process that you do? Is it kind of like an interview, a Q&A with them, and just say some prompting questions like who, what, how, just so you get the answers that to design the system?
Typically, yeah. I mean, typically it's seeing it can be done. We'll do it in a quick interview quite often, just to see how many critical assets do you have that are doing this type of work. So, what are your workhorse machines that are actually doing your CMMC related work? How do you have any servers that are holding CUI? Do you have, and what devices are connected to them, and how many people are actually needing access to it? Not how many people are in your company, how many people
Right.
like, common security problem is not limiting it to the need to know or the need to act.
And then is there like a training process? Would you just kind of, educate them on how to use the software? Or, are you also available to, make changes or update, or, when they decide that actually Bob and Florian and Mark all need to be on the system, do you add them, or can they add them, or both?
Both. So like we typically will, give them we're not going to leave them with the equipment until we're comfortable that they're comfortable with the operations of it, and that, we're a phone call away too, or, we've gone to on site too, to help. But yeah, want to make sure that they, either that IT person or, even small businesses where it's the business owner that may be using it. That's why the user interface is intended to be as easy to use as it is. Or if they're using an MSP, that they're all comfortable with how it works and that the connections are.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I know two of us from my own personal experience, you best laid plans and you give all the thought and intentionality, and then you live with it for 3 months and you're like, ooh, ouch, that is not the way we're actually using it. So I assume that, you get those tweaks and additions and subtractions.
Absolutely. And that's the whole idea, is for them to be able to use it as they see fit into their needs. So that way, if they're, like, hey, yeah, we do actually want to create another enclave for this purpose, or you want to group these people or these devices together a different way than was originally set up, they can do that. And
and hopefully they're growing and adding and need more assistance as it progresses. So that's interesting. And Mark, you said something earlier too about, CMMC is one thing, but this is also just like kind of some fundamental cybersecurity infrastructure as well. I mean, whether you need that credential or not, or the certification or not, the tool is useful just to protect yourself from all the ransomware and phishing and everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this goes beyond, anything from just enforcing CMMC. It's of getting the compliance. You really should care about the fact that, ransomware attacks on manufacturers has gone through the roof over the past several years. And it's essentially because, the honest truth is that manufacturing has been kind of an easy target, because it's the new to, one of the last industries to have to adopt some of these IT, OT integration with, because why would I need to have this piece of machinery connected to a network? It works fine without it. But as if people upgrade their equipment, there's really no working around it. The new equipment gets connected. So a lot of those procedures weren't in place. It's, they've been fine for 30 years. And so it's good practices. Every level of security has it, whether, we talk CUI, but the principles are the same no matter what level of government clearance or personal security that you're applying. The cybersecurity practices are important across the board.
Yeah, we appreciate hearing that. Well, I also want to say just, thanks to you and to Florian. You guys have been great partners. We really appreciate the support you've given a number of our members who have found themselves in trouble, but also have needed some protection, and very much appreciate this presentation and look forward to continue to work with you.
Thank you, Harold. Thanks for having me. This was great, and look forward to keep working with you. It's been awesome.
Thank you for watching Inside Exchange, Topics for Manufacturers. We hope you found today's episode valuable. To learn more about the Council of Industry and explore additional resources, visit us at councilofindustry.org.